Hi friends, welcome back. I'm so glad you're here. It was supposed to be a 2-week break for the holidays and it ended up being 4 weeks. So I'm sorry, and now it just feels weird talking to the camera again, but hopefully I can get this out there and make it make sense and not take up too much of your time. So we're just going to jump right in. As most of you know, I have been taking Zepbound since February and I am on 5 milligrams. Altogether, I've lost about 65 pounds, and honestly, this medication has just been a game changer. It has absolutely changed my life and I love the medication. I'm forever grateful for Zepbound. So as far as side effects, I've had very minimal side effects. Any side effects that I did have were not long lasting or anything like that. And it's been a great experience for me. However, I did start noticing a couple of months ago that the medication wasn't really working as well as it had been initially. And I even went up to 7.5 for a couple of weeks and still just wasn't really seeing like a change. Now, I know that there are different opinions about this, but I really do feel that your body can get used to these medications, and sometimes taking a break is what your body needs to kind of just reset. And obviously, I'm not a doctor, so consult with your doctor before making any changes. I'm simply just sharing my opinion and my experience. But to me, that just kind of makes sense. I feel like if your body didn't get used to it, then there would be no reason to have to go up in dose. You know what I mean? So like the reason we go up in dose is because we find that the dose that we're currently on isn't working as effectively. And so, that's why there's other doses available, right? So that just makes sense to me, but it also just reminds me of something that my daughter's endo had told me years ago when she was first diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And he basically just sort of warned me against using too much insulin. And I think the reason why he felt the need to do that was because at the time there was sort of this, I don't want to say it was a movement, but I guess maybe it was a movement where parents felt that they wanted their kids to have the same exact childhood that their siblings had or were having. You know what I mean? And so if they wanted to have birthday cake, they can have birthday cake and they can have the chips and the pizza and they can drink the soda and, not miss out on anything. That diabetes wasn't going to be, it wasn't going to change their life. Like they were going to still live their life the way they normally would have lived it. And so, on the surface, that sounds great. But if you're diabetic, that can cause problems. And I think the reason why he mentioned that was because at the time, insulin pumps were kind of becoming more accessible than they ever had been. And so a lot of parents were switching their kids off of injections and switching them over to insulin pumps. And if you're not familiar with what an insulin pump is, it's basically a little, well, there's different kinds, but the one my daughter has is by Omnipod. And it's a little plastic device that you fill up with insulin and you stick onto your skin. And then it has like a little cannula that inserts into your skin. And basically it's supposed to last up to 3 days. It doesn't always, but ideally, it stays on there for 3 days, and it gives you little bits of insulin all day long based on, whatever settings you and your doctor have, set it up to release. And anytime you need additional insulin, so like if you're exercising or of course if you're eating something that has carbs, then you have like a separate PDM, like another, looks like a phone. You calculate how many carbs you're eating, and then that will compute how much insulin you need. It communicates through Bluetooth to the device, and then the device will administer that bolus, that insulin. So it definitely makes, if you're a diabetic, it makes your life much easier because you're not having to give yourself multiple injections of insulin a day. And I promise I'm gonna tie this all in together. I know it seems like I'm on a tangent. He mentioned that was because he was starting to see more and more type 1 diabetics becoming resistant to insulin. So they were basically type 1 diabetics that were developing type 2 diabetes. So they call it double diabetes. And that stuck with me. And I really do feel that the same thing can happen on these medications, especially if like diet and exercise aren't a part of the equation. You know what I mean? We know how these medications work. We know that they work by stimulating certain receptors. And I think that over time, if they're overstimulated for too long, the same way it happens with insulin resistancy, that you can overtax those receptors and they're not as sensitive as they were. So that's why I decided to take a break. And again, I'm just sharing what I'm doing. I'm not saying that I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying that this is what you should do. I'm simply just sharing what I did, like what I'm doing. So I ended up taking a 4-week break, and which I really don't feel like was all that long. Now, sure, I could have stayed on 7.5 a little longer to see if that would have made any difference, or I could have even moved up to 10 milligrams. But I just feel that I'm so close to my goal weight. I think that's about 130 pounds. So I'm about 20-ish pounds away. And because my goal has been from the beginning to be able to get off this medication, I just really wanted to see if a reset would help before deciding to go up in dose. The problem is that my break happened at the worst possible time. It happened right in the middle of the holidays. And if you're anything like me, sticking to an exercise plan, a diet, or anything like that is just really, really hard around the holidays. There's like all these family dinners and church functions where there's a lot of good food. And, my older kids were home, and it was just bad timing. And there was just way too many good things to pass up on. And if you're Hispanic, you know that no holiday is complete without coquito. So every year I make like a huge batch, and I definitely drank a whole lot of that, which has a whole ton of calories. And yeah, anyhow, I guess what I'm trying to say is I definitely overindulged, and I ended up gaining about 5 pounds. Well, not about 5 pounds. And yeah, I was a little disappointed, and I was upset with myself because I just had worked so hard up until that point, and gaining those 5 pounds really felt like a step backwards. I mean, it was a step backwards. So I was a little bummed out about it, but I don't regret taking the break. I regret the timing for sure. Definitely not my smartest move, lesson learned. But the break itself was exactly what my body needed, because when I took my first injection so it had been 4 weeks, I felt it work so much better than I had in months. And the food noise was completely gone, like completely gone. And especially like those first 2 days after the injection, just completely gone. It was silence. It was beautiful. And so I felt that, yes, the timing for sure could have been better, but overall, taking the break was the right choice for me. Now, I know some of you are watching this and you're thinking that a 5-pound weight gain in 4 weeks of being off the medication is just not worth it. And I get that. I totally understand that. For me, it was worth it. Aside from the fact that the medication is definitely working much better than it had been in months, I just also feel like I don't know, it's weird. I almost feel like I'm more refreshed and ready to tackle the last 20-ish pounds. I should clarify too that while I was off the medication, I wasn't like going buck wild, eating everything in sight or anything like that. I definitely was eating more than I normally would have, but not because I was binging or just couldn't stop eating. It was just that the foods I was eating were definitely higher in calories. So like, for instance, the coquito alone it's like loaded with calories, and it's hard to find the calorie amount, but I Googled it, and like a little 6-ounce glass of it has almost 500 calories. And I was definitely having a whole lot of that. Honestly, I think most of my weight gain came from drinking so much coquito, but there was desserts and things like that too. But yeah, I never felt that during my 4-week break that the hunger had like come back tenfold, or I was binging, or it wasn't like that. It was actually very manageable. I was still, I felt like I was still being mindful for the most part. And, I was still trying to, prioritize protein as much as I could, but it was definitely that I was eating these other higher calorie foods. So, yeah, I just feel like any weight loss journey, whether you're using a medication or not, there's going to be bumps in the road, right? It's not, we know this, it's not linear. There's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be setbacks. There's going to be plateaus. And I think the old me would have for sure become discouraged by gaining 5 pounds. But I'm not discouraged. I just feel like, it is what it is. It's a setback, it's a blip in the radar, and I'm ready to move forward. Gaining those 5 pounds doesn't negate all the hard work I've been putting in, and it doesn't define my journey. So I hope if you're feeling discouraged because you gained a little bit of weight during the holidays, that you realize it's okay and it's a setback, but there's always going to be setbacks, right? Like it's just part of life, and all we can do is just move forward and not let that be the thing that derails you and that you get hung up on. So just move forward from here on out. So now for the weigh-in portion of the video. So my last weigh-in was December 6th and I was 144.5 pounds. And then I had my 4-week break and gained 5 pounds, and I went up to 149.1 pounds, and that was on January 4th. As of this morning, I'm back down to 147.8 pounds, but I actually think it's a little less because I'm on my cycle. But either way, I'm moving in the right direction, and that's what counts. So I'm happy with that. So with the holidays behind me, I felt like I was ready to kick things up a notch, the whole new year, new me type thing. And I started a new strength training program 2 weeks ago. It's by Lifts with C. And, I've been following her workouts throughout the summer, and she's got tons of free workouts here on YouTube. But what I signed up for was like a paid version, and I just felt like I wanted to do that because I've enjoyed her workouts so much. So I'm really excited about it. I just finished my second week today, and basically my goal is to really just lose these last 20-ish pounds and tone up, get stronger, build confidence, all of that stuff. But now I want to challenge you that for the next 6 weeks, you commit to moving your body in some way, shape, or form. So it doesn't have to be strength training. It can be yoga, it can be Pilates, it could be water, it could be walking. Like just simply walking 30 minutes a day is so beneficial. Whatever it is, find something that you enjoy, or at least not hate, and commit to doing that for the next 6 weeks. And I'll leave it up to you to decide, how many days a week you want to do that. It could be 3 days a week, it could be 5 days a week, whatever it is, whatever works for you. Just make it sustainable, make it doable, and stick with it. Stick with it for the next 6 weeks. And I promise that at the end of those 6 weeks, you're going to be feeling so much better. You're going to feel stronger. You're going to be feeling more confident and just better about where your weight loss journey is heading, especially if you feel like you're coming out of the holidays and you've kind of been in a little bit of a slump, or maybe you've gained some weight. I promise that if you commit to prioritizing your health and your movement, you're going to feel better. So again, doesn't matter what it is. Pick something. It could be chair exercises for all I care. It doesn't matter. Pick something that is sustainable for you and go from there. And if you are thinking of strength training, but you just don't know where to start, I will always recommend Strong Sisters United. That's where I started. I absolutely love her videos, and she's here on YouTube. She has tons of free YouTube workouts. She has one especially that's good for bad knees. And yeah, you can't go wrong with her. I'll also link Lifts with C because she's amazing as well. So remember, it doesn't matter what you do. Pick something and stick with it. And let me know in the chat if you've been thinking about taking a break from Zepbound or any of the GLP-1 medications, or if you have taken a break, let me know how that went for you. I'll see you next time, guys. Bye.